Welcome back to the Forza Juventus podcast. I'm your host, Enrique Ortega.
Hey, I'm Anthony from Primo Calcio.
And we are live after the Juventus game versus Al Ain in the opening Club World Cup game. Juventus won 5-0. The scores were Randall Colomwani, Francisco Conceição, and Kenan Yildiz. Anthony, let's just start off. What are your thoughts? Opening game, new tournament that's supposed to be the spectacle of all spectacles, with a crazy prize, and the way they're advertising it, it's like this is the greatest tournament to ever exist. So let's hear. Did it live up to it?
What a shit show. If there wasn't all this money involved in it, it would be it's the cheesiest thing ever. But it makes it relevant because there's cash. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't even have watched it. It's, I don't know, half-filled stadium, all the cheese you could possibly ask for. But we took care of business.
I think I'm gonna have to share that sentiment. Just watching not just this Juventus game, the other games Real Madrid played earlier. I mean, if we want to go off on a tangent real quick, they drew 1-1 to a Saudi Arabian team. So, but so the tournament as a whole, it's embarrassing. There's no fans. I don't think FIFA realized that in America, people don't go to sporting events midday. If they've seen anything about Major League Baseball, they know that 12 o'clock games have 3 people in the crowd, maybe. So having these games and having this supposed to be the greatest tournament ever, it's not a good look. But back to Juventus. I will take this win. I think the fans have been dying for multiple goals in a game for a long time. I saw the stat that the last time Juventus scored 4 goals in a first half was in 2018. So as much of as an exhibition match as you would say it was, we still scored. I mean, it's obvious players don't want to be there. The players really don't want to be there. They're playing half-assed, but we won. At the end of the day, there's money involved, like you said. We won. But let's get into a bit of the game. What were some of your takeaways so far?
Well, I mean, our press is real sloppy. We have no defensive shape, no offensive shape. We truly were just a much better team than they were from a talent standpoint, as expected. I think Tudor's got a lot of work to do. I don't know if he's capable of doing it, but we need to get. They had way too many dangerous opportunities for me to feel comfortable about that. I mean, if that's a better team, they could have put 3-4 in the net. Our defenders are laying way off their strikers. There's a huge gap in the midfield. I mean, the midfield was absent. And in the end, the second half, we couldn't really produce anything. And I know there's motivation issues, but that's equal on both sides. But as soon as you brought the subs in, the game just died.
Definitely. Yeah, I think the first half, from the first minute, it showed that the players' heads weren't in it, in the sense that this isn't a Champions League game where everybody is wanting to at least get a win. This was an exhibition match. I mean, if you've ever played FIFA on the PlayStation or anything, like they and play My Career mode, they do these fake tournaments of to prize money. That's what this felt like. It just felt like some random tournament there's money involved, but players aren't there to showcase or win anything major. They're just there to play. And that's what this was. So yeah, like you said, defense was abysmal. The spacing was wrong. But the thing is that the other team they didn't care either. And keep in mind, this is a team that is not known outside of its country. So for them to kind of not have any care is a testament to what this tournament is. And I hope I get proved wrong, but if this keeps up, each round is not going to improve. It's going to be embarrassing for FIFA. If anything, we're in it for the money, which at the end of the day, we got to win here. So that's some money right there. But yeah, back to the game. I think some of the standouts were Conceição. I think he's riding a bit of some momentum from the Nations League from winning with Portugal. Kefren Turam is Kefren Turam. He was doing the same thing he was doing during the season, playing crisp passes, got that great pass to Randall Colomwani. who also had a good game, just doing the striker's job, getting in front of goal, scoring. And my other standout, besides Kenan Yildiz, who had that wonder strike from outside the box, was Alberto Costa, who is continuing his development. And I think Tudor has brought that out of him, especially towards that end of the Serie A season. We saw him progress a bit more. He was getting the game time, playing, showing his talent. But today, again, subpar opponent. But it doesn't take away from the fact that Alberto Costa is growing. He had the assist for Colomwani to start, and we got another one later on. So I think as much as there are faults to this, we can take away the positives of there's players still growing, and let's just hope that there's some maybe pride to at least showcasing this team and playing some talents. At the end of the day, the scoreline will flatter us 5-0, but again, it's the opponent that made us look that good.
Yeah, I think that the tournament will tighten up. The players will feel more the deeper they go into it, but it's going to, we're going to have to get pretty deep into it to see any meaningful football. But, good point about Costa. And to add on to that, that's what this tournament should be about. That's what this time of year is. It's for the young guys to get in there, try to earn a place on the team with a good preseason performance. But because there's so much cash on the line, they're going to still trot out, majority of your regular starters, and we're not going to really get to see who's coming up through the ranks and give these kids an opportunity to earn their spot. So I'm glad Costa got to play most of the game. I want to see more of these bench guys get in there. I want to see Kostic. I wanted to see Rugani, some of these guys that are coming back, work them into the team here. I mean, throwing some of the same guys out there against Al Ain is not, really going to get us anything. We should win that game anyways. So we got some money in our pocket now. I'm curious what we do next game, but I want to see I want to see things tighten up tactically at least. I mean, that's just a matter of discipline. You should do that no matter who you're playing. And I do want to see some young guys and some of these loan returns get onto the pitch and get worked into the team a little bit. That's the point of this time of year.
Definitely. Just some updates too on the group we're in itself with Al Ain, us, Manchester City, and Wydad. Wydad played Man City earlier, and Man City won 2-0. And for us, we're now on top of the group because of goal difference. We play Wydad next game, and so again, another subpar team. We'll see what happens then, but just for the sake of knowing that if we top this group, more money, advancing, more money, winning a game, more money. So at the end of the day, while these games might not be the best to watch, it's more so this is what's going to go into our transfer fund and anything overall. But to the game and tying it in with the transfer market, we got to see a little bit of Douglas Luiz and Dusan Vlahovic, who based on the rumors are on their way out. So for them, this tournament is to showcase that they still have it in them to go play at another big club. And Douglas Luiz, I said last time on our podcast, I do like him as a player. I think he has real talent. But his first play on the pitch today was a giveaway on almost turned into a goal, and he's still showcasing that he's playing that nonchalant, like non-caring way. And maybe that's what the halftime talk was, that take it easy, like we don't need to exhaust ourselves against this team anymore. But to make that your first play after already getting criticism, it's disappointing. He did fine the rest of the game. There wasn't really any complaints after that. He almost had two amazing goals towards the end of the game, but meaningless goals at that. But still, trying something. Dusan Vlahovic did next to nothing for someone who the club who's actively trying to sell him and do something. I'm seeing rumors that we're willing to accept 25 million. I think that's selling ourselves short, but we might be in a position like we were with Federico Chiesa last year. So with Colomwani scoring, Dusan Vlahovic's stock is only going to go down because he won't play in this tournament. And so the time he does get, I'm not really sure what his point is.
No, I mean, if these are players that are truly on the way out, we should definitely be limiting their time. But you know, I, I'm like you. I think there is a player in there when it comes to Luis. I don't think I did buy all the hype from him coming, from the EPL. I mean, there's a lot more space. It's a lot less tactically sound of a league. So, players that do have that nonchalant attitude are going to struggle when tactics get real tight and teams get real stingy. But he has skill, he has ability, he has vision. He just needs to be. I think I'd like to see him play more throughout this tournament. If we don't really have a midfielder like him, so the problem is though Tudor's tactics only having two midfielders. I think he needs to play in a three-man midfield no matter what. I don't think you have the proper coverage for the defense if he's out there. When you had him and Coop Miners out there, I mean, neither of them are defensively sound players, and it could have been pretty ugly if the other team was good. So it's hard not to run Thuram Locatelli, and there's even a drop off to McKennie, who he has his moments, but today wasn't one of them.
Yeah, I think the issue with Locatelli, he got injured while on break with the national team, so that's why he didn't play today. McKennie getting the captain's armband was surprising to me. I mean, maybe it was because
US
playing in America. Yeah, exactly. He got the biggest crowd cheers today. But yeah, he played a game. Like, to be honest, like, he didn't really do much. He was there. He played some nice passes here and there. But again, this wasn't just a McKennie problem. This was just Juventus. Like, it was easy for them. They didn't care too much. We saw at halftime Kefren Thuram come off and Cambiasso. I hope there's no knock to them or anything. It's just simply, let's get them off. We won this game already. But yeah, so I'm glad we won again, 5-0. We don't really get to see that as Juventus fans. So I want to now shift over to the coach. Igor Tudor has been confirmed. He's staying, signed a contract till 2027 with an option for another year. After missing out on Conte, missing out on Gasperini, we were scrambling with names. Marco Silva, Fulham, just random people of mid-table clubs. And at the end of the day, they stuck with Tudor because I think the team, there's been reports that the team has kind of stuck up for him. They were vouching for him. In interviews, especially Cambiasso said recently that the players love Tudor, that they appreciate him and respect him as a coach, and that Thiago Motta, they think he's a good coach, but it didn't work out. I think that's putting it nicely for them. But Tudor staying, how are you feeling about that?
Well, it's a pretty sad day when that's going to be our coach for an entire season. I have nothing against him. I like that he came in and did the job. He kind of crash landed us onto shore in fourth place. He did stabilize the locker room, which isn't, shouldn't be taken for granted. I definitely don't, but he's just not a tactician. And when you get into the larger games, when you're coaching an Italian side that doesn't spend the money of some of these other teams, I think that we really need to win on discipline and tactics. And I don't think that with the defensive unit we have, playing the way he plays is the correct way. I definitely believe in having wingers and a backup three in today's modern game. I just don't see side backs that are capable of playing defense. So the wing back's the safest place for him. But if we're going to be trotting out guys like Kelly and Kalulu and Savona, I mean, Savona did an okay job considering he was put on an island all day. But the other guys got to get some discipline, and most importantly, they got to get midfielders that are going to protect in front of them. And that's a coaching thing that needs to be. I mean, these guys have been playing the game a long time. It's not that complicated to understand the mission here. So, yeah, it was Alain or whatever, and we could take it to him, but we should not have been given up chances like that. So my fears about Tudor were kind of made obvious here in this first game, and I want to see those cleaned up over the course of the tournament to give me more confidence in it, because my confidence level, my expectations are pretty low, and that's fine. It is what it is, but they're low.
I think most fans share the sentiment that if it's not Conte, if it's not Gasperini, we don't want to be linked with all these. We're okay with Tudor, but that's the thing. It's it's kind of like okay at the end of the day, where
Yeah.
it's not first choice, not second choice, and wouldn't even say third choice, but he got us to Champions League. Sure, let's see what happens with him. At the end of the day, if he doesn't do a good job, he's going to get fired.
What happened to
So
Palladino, by the way? What's he doing? Just taking a break or something?
I don't know, but I have a feeling if Juventus were to even be linked with him, it would be another Thiago Motta situation, just
Yeah.
not up for a big club, just would be another guy to bring on fire, and we're left paying wages again. So Tudor's our guy. I'm gonna back him, hopefully. But yeah, that defense needs to shape up. Obviously,
Yeah.
Bremer being out, that was the case with Thiago Motta too. Having a world class defender, in my opinion, top 5 in the world. He will be an important piece, especially in that middle back three. So it'll be interesting to see. We're seeing rumors that maybe Lloyd Kelly, the most infamous probably January signing of Juventus's history, especially given the circumstances that we had one, and now he's at Real Madrid. He will not be named just for the sake of sanity here, but Lloyd Kelly's probably on his way out. Makes sense. He didn't show any class today. I mean, he was
He
fine. He
was
didn't really do anything.
terrible. No, he was terrible. He was even a bunch of those attacks. He was not even in the play. It's like, where's he going? Where's he at?
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think with Tudor, it's important that he's staying, but the difference I feel with him versus when with Thiago Motta and Giuntoli is that they work together to for transfers. We're not really seeing Tudor have a say other than the Marseille midfielder. I'm blanking on his name, but that's the guy he wants to bring in to help the back line. But other than that,
Balerdi?
yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, like, is Tudor gonna have a say? Or, I mean, we still don't have a sporting director at this point.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on with that. We're losing targets. So it's another situation where we're in where we might be one of those Tim Weah summers. We get one guy and call it a day. And maybe extending the loans of Colomwani to next season, and maybe buying Chico. And if we can potentially negotiate a lower fee, because it doesn't seem like they're willing to pay the 30 million. I think at the start of the season I was all in on Chico Conceição. Towards the end, I was tailing off. Depending on this tournament, how he plays. Again, it's this tournament that nobody wants to be at. But getting the funds there could help us. I think there's a great player. He doesn't really fit this system because he's a winger and he's playing behind the strikers. So I like what he did today. I think he and Colomwani were fighting for a player of the match. But we'll see what happens. I think the forefront of this transfer market has to be the striker. Wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think we'll see how well Chico does as the tournament goes on. You know, there's these easy matchups. I mean, I would feel pretty confident getting out there and handling some of those people. So I think I want to see how Chico does when the competition gets better. I think he can work in that position. I don't think he has to just dribble into the corner. I think he can do more than that. He's just, I mean, it's like what you tell kids, you know, U10 team, pick your head up, look at the field. That's his biggest problem. So if he learns to do that, he can be pretty damn good. He's a hell of a dribbler. But I mean, he is still just a winger. And as far as the, you know, our club goes and what we're doing, we're just a poorly run club. That's the bottom line. Everything that we're suffering from is the disease of being a poorly run club. And until Comoli actually does something that you know is positive, we're just going to continue to lose targets and waffle, and then you're gonna lose at the negotiating table too, because no one's going to take you seriously. So I mean, why would who was it, Porto, give us a better deal on Chico? Why the hell would they? They know we're desperate. They know we'll do it.
Definitely. Yeah. It almost feels like a lose-lose situation, because if we don't buy him, I guarantee another team's going to pick him up, and it won't be for the fee we're trying to negotiate. It'll definitely be a bit higher. So I think Chico actually likes being at this club. I think there's stress behind not being redeemed at the moment. So I think he's trying to convince what he could. But there's one thing that I didn't mention today. Did you notice who didn't play today?
Who?
Nico Gonzalez.
Oh yeah, that's right. I thought he's probably injured again or something. No.
I didn't see anything about it. I just
Right.
know that he didn't play today, and is that why we won 5-0 today? Because I don't dislike Nico Gonzalez. I just don't like him on my team.
I agree. Yeah.
And so
Especially since we paid so much for the guy. So if there's an exit for him, there's not a single player on this team that I would fight to keep. I might, argue a tiny bit, but I wouldn't sit there. I wouldn't fight to keep any of these players. So if you can sell one, ship one.
that's where I think we're going to run into an issue this summer is are we going to be able to sell? Like nobody's dying to come fight for our players right now. Dusan Vlahovic is still young, has a career still ahead of him, and was considered at the time when we bought him the best striker in the market after Haaland. And now nobody wants him. Arsenal are about to buy Benjamin Sesko. And if you don't remember him, he's the one that scored the golazo against us in the Leipzig comeback in the Champions League this season.
He's a big boy.
Big guy. And I think Vlahovic is a big guy too, but he doesn't make himself physically present. There's no presence to him. We talked about this last time. When things don't go his way, he whines, complains. His on-ball skills are next to none. He just doesn't really know what to do if the ball's not fed to him with an open net.
I agree. He's not a smart player. He really isn't, and his first touch is really poor. His touch in general. But he has his games when he's, he looks like, man, if he can keep this going, we might make some of that money back. But at this point, who the hell would want him? And so, and the problem is they know his contract's up, at the end of next year?
Yep.
So I honestly think we're going to be stuck with them, and maybe loan him out or something just to get, make someone pick up a portion of his salary. He doesn't really offer us anything positive here. He hasn't had that great of an impact. Most of his goals last year were on pens. I mean, I'd like to bring in a striker that can share time with Colo. Colo's been doing a pretty decent job. Yeah, it was a weak team, but also throughout the second half of the season when he came in, he was streaky, but that's kind of the nature of strikers anyways. So that's not going to, castrate him for that. I'd like to see him improve his movement. Sure, great. But yeah, we need to get a striker in here. And if Vlahovic is stuck here, he's just going to hog space.
The thing about Kolo Muani too is that he gets involved outside of the striking play. Like he will do things that Vlahovic doesn't, and that's why I'm a big fan of keeping him at the club long term. I get where Juventus is trying to get that loan without an obligation, which PSG is pushing for. But I think he's a guy that you bet on. I like what he does. I think he fits this team well. Is he the main striker? Probably not. I'm not against either if that's what we're left with. But there are rumors that Dusan Vlahovic has gotten interest from Milan. His boy Allegri might want him back. The issue there is the salary, but there's talks of a swap deal with Theo Hernandez. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, I really don't like Theo Hernandez in terms of the type of player he is. I'm really against whining and crying and diving. He does all those things in spades. But if we can get rid of Vlahovic with Theo Hernandez and move Cambiasso to the right, and Theo can play as a wing back, not a side back, where his defensive the weakness of his game is his defensive ability, so he won't be putting much onus on his defending. I think it could be an optimal scenario because when you need actual players with class, I wouldn't say we have a single player with actual class right now. We might have one or two guys that can go into it, but you bring in a guy that has actual class now, you move Cambiasso to the other side. Those are some pretty good wings, truly. And you get rid of, someone who's been really just taking up a ton of space and a ton of salary for us for years, and we can free up an option to bring in an actual striker that can share time with Colo. Because if we get rid of Vlahovic, we only have Colo. I mean, what Milik's behind him? I don't even know if he's. Where is he? He's an
He
invisible
traveled with the
man.
team, but I don't know if we'll
Yeah.
ever see him on the pitch again.
Yeah, we need one or maybe even two strikers because if Colo goes down, we got one guy behind him. We've been there, done that. You get like a striker that can also, and Colo can do it too. He can play, as a winger as well, in like a Lookman kind of position. We need a player like that, And I mentioned Goodmanson the other day, because he's I think fairly cheap, but something like that.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see. I'm hoping if there is some truth to the swap with Theo Hernandez and Vlahovic. Theo Hernandez comes with a far significantly cheaper salary. That already he's great in attack for a defender, which is what this team has been lacking. Some goals in defense to help out. In fact, I don't remember the last time we scored off a set piece or a corner. Other than I think Coop Miners scored a free kick. And I think
the Copa, right?
Yeah, those are the only ones I remember. But just corners itself, it's not looking good, and we just need somebody in the back to be able to provide a goal or two a season and some assists. Cambi also was doing that for a while, but we saw what happened to him once the rumors came in. And even today, like he did a. I think he played okay. The link up play was fine. Came off at halftime, so that's what we got to judge him off of. But yeah, so the striker market's tough. The three names we've been linked with the most are Gyökeres, Osimhen, and Jonathan David. I think Jonathan David is the option that I think will most likely happen coming in on a free transfer. The issue with him is the compensation for his agents and all of that. We've had agent issues in the past, especially if you remember the Dybala saga. His agent essentially forced him out of the club. So what of those three names would you like to see here? Keep in mind, Jonathan David isn't as physically present as Osimhen and Gyökeres is, and they each come with their own caveats and all that.
Yeah, I mean, Gyökeres, I think there's a risk just because of leaky place, and that's a lot of money.
I agree.
I also don't think we're realistically going to splash that kind of money for either Osimhen or Gyökeres. So, in my opinion, the only realistic one we have is David, and he's very realistic because his salary is even at the top end of it is manageable. The problem is we also have to buy or pay his entourage or whatever. And just like I was saying a minute ago, he's the kind of guy that could also play in that Lookman role, and I think that's a better spot for him in Serie A. I think David's going to struggle a lot with the type of defenses we have in Serie A. He's really good on counterattacks. He's really good when there's space, but when things tighten up, he's not so great. So I think we move him over to that left side and that kind of where Yildiz is playing right now. That's a little bit better spot for him. So, I mean, I'm a big fan of free transfers. Big fan of them. We got a lot of great players that way over the through the years. I think we need to get back to that. So, I would say if it's going to be one of those three, I would say David, but and I think there's other options out there too, especially if we're keeping Colo. We got Yildiz. I heard Dybala's name thrown around today. That one made me very happy. He's not a proper striker, but I want to see actual class players on this team. We don't have any, and we haven't had them for a couple seasons now. I want to see actual class players on this team for a change. I don't care if they even play half the damn season.
Definitely. I think with David, he and Kolo Muani would be interchangeable a bit more than if we got Gyökeres or Osimhen, considering the price that you pay for Osimhen and Gyökeres. They're going to be starting week in, week out, and Kolo Muani would be the sub to them. With David, I think you'll see a bit of a mix, probably more David in maybe per se a Champions League or title matches. Kolo Muani maybe more league and subbing in. But honestly, I would like to see that versus splashing out. I think the issue with Osimhen is Napoli itself and De Laurentiis. That's the problem there. That's a guy who hates us with a passion. Getting any player from him, especially after Higuain. As much as Osimhen brings hope and scoring prowess and something we've been missing for a very long time, I wouldn't get our hopes up about it. It would be one of those where I think if we did get him, that immediately pushes us to a title contender because we've been lacking those goals. We need somebody to get at least 20 goals a season. And he would be that guy, no doubt about it. Gyökeres, again, league-wise, we don't really know. Yeah, he's a certified goal on a penalty, but other than that, there's not much to say competition-wise. I mean, he scored against City in the Champions League, so you can give him that credit. But
he's more of a risk, you know. Like we
yeah.
know we've seen Osimhen in Serie A, we've seen him what he can do, and he's just so expensive, and he's with Napoli. So I mean, yeah, I think if there was a way to. It's hard to find great strikers. It's hard to find good strikers. It really is. They just don't exist like they used to. So you're certainly paying a premium if you're going to have to buy one. The other thing is to try to bring one up while you have guys there that can fill the role. So if you can get David on a free, you can get Kolomuani on a loan, and you can pick up a guy like I don't think Luka's ever going to be world class, but you can pick up a guy like that who's a completely different profile, or some younger player that can kind of come up with behind those two. That's probably would be my ultimate scenario for our current striking team. I would try to save the money because I think we got other holes to fill right now, and I don't think we can. If our team was all set and we just needed one piece or one or two pieces to add to it to take us to the next level, kind of like we were when before Juntoli got here, I really thought we were in that spot. Well, before the season even as well. Then I think it's time to go throw the cash at a player like an Osimhen and be like, now we're taking that final step. We were competing for the Scudetto under Allegri in that final season, and it fell off for bunch of internal struggles and sabotage things, but that team just was a piece or two away. This team is a lot of pieces away, so I don't think we can go splashing the cash in one guy right
now. That is the problem right now. But you talked about it earlier, Dybala. We're seeing links. I doubt they'll come true, but it brings a smile to my face. Dybala, at the time, used to be my favorite player outside of Messi. I still love watching him. He's just one of those players that has that it factor. He's special. He's talented. The injuries will always be the issue with him, but when he's on the pitch, he's the difference maker. I'd love to see him come back and get his kind of the exit treatment that he kind of didn't get, and especially if he has a different agent, I'd love to see that too. But it's always special seeing players that brought so much love and happiness to a franchise as like Juventus, and Dybala would certainly bring that winning mentality. He knows Juventus through and through. He would be just an added bonus on this pitch.
Yeah, I mean he's one of the most talented players still in Serie A. I mean he's my favorite player to watch in the modern game because they just don't have players like him anymore. He's the last of them. When he's done, there aren't players that play like him. When there used to be a little bit more. He was a little more common profile. So no, if he was back here, I'd be very excited every weekend to turn on the match and watch just to see what he does. He's truly creative player, which we lack so badly. We can blame Moda for tactics, we blame Tudor for tactics. Creativity comes from the players. I mean, that's why creative players are at such a premium, especially today because there's so few of them. Bringing in a guy like that for an extremely reasonable price, what's his release clause, 15 mil or something like that. I mean, even if it's 21, that was another number I heard. I mean, that to me, it's to bring in a class player like that changes the level of your team. Kind of like I was talking about Teo. I don't even like Teo, but bringing in a guy like that's what we need to do right now. We need to raise the level of the quality level of the team. Those two guys do that, and Dybala is such a focal point. So when we're in those, we're against those teams with those low blocks, we have someone we can get the ball to that can do something. But then instead of just banging out wide, hacking an ugly cross, he can do something, and he'll make our strikers look a lot better too.
Totally agree. And I think I saw somebody today say that Kenan Yildiz kind of plays very similarly to Dybala. Not the same player, obviously, but the goal he scored today was very Dybala-like, the creating space, dropping the shoulder, creating a goal out of nothing. I'm actually very excited for Yildiz next season. I think he already took a leap this past season. Next season, I think he'll do even better. I mean, if you remember, Chesney told him that in a few years he'll be a Ballon d'Or winner. Love the optimism.
Yeah,
I think he totally has the quality to do it.
good.
This is a
Yeah.
special player. And if he could do just half of what Dybala did for us, he will go down as a legend for this club, especially if he stays for the long haul.
Well, he's got a lot of room to grow. I mean, and the problem is he's not going to grow unless we put good players around him.
Yeah.
If we're constantly asking a 19 or he's going to be 20 next to 20-year-old to carry our team, it just they're not asking that of the kid from Barcelona. You know, they're not doing that. They didn't ask it from Messi when he stepped up. So those guys are stepping into teams that have high quality, that have an identity, that have a system, that have been good for a while. We're rebuilding everything from scratch right here. So Yildiz is definitely not an optimal scenario to really ripen his talent. So it's bringing in a guy like Dybala and putting him behind Yildiz and Kolo, that looks like a way better scenario for Yildiz. I think Yildiz will he'll find those gaps, get Dybala hit those through balls. He'll get a shit ton of goals, in my opinion, if Dybala is on the field with him, because that's what Dybala does. He creates. And yeah, Yildiz can vary, and Yildiz is clutch. He scored a lot of clutch goals for us last year. That's a made I attribute in a player that I weigh very highly. He's got that gamer sense.
Definitely. And the one thing about Kenan Yildiz too, I saw that he scored on every debut for Juventus for competition. So
that's cool.
Not many players can say they've done that. I think Kenan Yildiz is a gem that we are very lucky to have, excited for the future. But I kind of want to close this episode with predictions for the next game. Again, it's going to be one of those probably exhibition type matches. But that's the competition we're in. We play next Sunday. Well, at least it'll be 12 p.m. Eastern time in the U.S. Juventus will be home against Wydad AC, who just lost to Man City. Thoughts on that game and how it'll go?
Well, I'll give my prediction, but I want to hear who you want to see in the starting lineup that you didn't see today. So I predict a 5-0 win because that's what I expect. And I'd like to see Rugani in the starting lineup. That's my, and I want to see Kostic. I want to see these loan returns that should have a place. I mean, there's no reason Kostic shouldn't be able to get some time on the pitch this tournament. So those are a couple guys I want to see, and I'd like to see them when we do get a lead like that. Let's bring in somebody.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see Rugani play as well. I think he's been at the club the longest of all the people there. He has the capability, especially against Wydad. There's not much of a risk starting him. I think the only issue there is that Tudor doesn't really know him other than this season he was with Pirlo at the club. So I think it's just getting him into the system, and I'm sure we'll see him, no doubt about that. I like the lineup we have. I'd like to see Locatelli back in for midfield. The issue with every manager we've had at Juventus is that for some reason McKennie is undroppable. So if Locatelli's back in, that means somebody else is dropped for McKennie. So we'll just see what happens. I'm sure. I think the starting lineup today was fine. I think Tudor will probably play the same thing against Wydad, and I'm gonna go with you. It should be another 5-0. I mean, City was only able to get 2. I'm hoping that we can at least showcase that we're gonna be up for it and push 5 again, and then prep for the game against City again next week. And I wonder if City will have any vengeance after we beat them in the Champions League.
Oh, I don't think those players care at all. They don't. I don't think they care.
But that is the end of this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Let us know who you think or what your predictions are for next game, and what your thoughts were for the opening kickoff for Juventus in the Club World Cup. Thanks so much for watching. Tune in next Sunday, or this coming Sunday. We'll have another episode out for reactions for the post-game match after Wydad. Thanks so much.